In the frozen heart of Siberia, where the air freezes your breath before it leaves your lips, a miracle occurred that defies every law of nature. An 80-year-old woman, living in a cabin made of wood and grit, heard a heavy thud at her door in minus 71-degree weather. It wasn't a neighbor. It was a 600-pound grizzly, eyes wide with a plea no human should understand. But this isn't just a story about a bear. It is a mirror. Today, we reveal the survival secret hidden in that frozen forest and why your body is currently hibernating when it should be thriving. If you are over 60, pay attention. Your survival depends on what happens next. The Siberian taiga is not a place for the weak. It is a vast, unforgiving expanse where the temperature can drop to minus 71 degrees Celsius, a cold so profound it shatters steel and turns boiling water into ice crystals before it hits the ground. Most creatures spend their lives running from this cold, but for those who call it home, it is a master teacher. In this frozen silence, every heartbeat is a calculated expense of energy. For a senior over the age of 60, the cold is often seen as the enemy, a reason to stay indoors, to stiffen up, and to let the joints seize. But in the story of Agafya, an 80-year-old woman living on the edge of the world, the cold was merely the backdrop for a lesson in biological resilience that scientists are only now beginning to understand. Nature doesn't care about your birth certificate. It only cares about your ability to adapt. When we look at this vast, blue-white landscape, we aren't just looking at a wasteland. We are looking at the ultimate testing ground for the human spirit and the aging body's hidden reserves. Agafya's hands tell a story that most modern 80-year-olds have forgotten. They are gnarled like the roots of the ancient Siberian pines, yet they possess a dexterity and strength that would shame a man 40 years her junior. In the West, we are taught that after 60, we should take it easy. We are told that our hands should rest, that our chores should be automated, and that our lives should become smaller to accommodate our frailty. But Agafya's life is a testament to the opposite. Every morning, she rituals of survival, the grinding of grain, the stoking of the hearth, the hauling of water from a hole cut into the ice. These aren't just chores, they are the biological signals that tell her cells they are still needed. This is the first secret of the Siberian longevity. The body only keeps what it uses. When you stop moving, your DNA assumes the hunt is over and begins the shutdown process we call aging. Imagine the shock. Then, when a creature evolved for this brutal climate, a 600-pound Siberian brown bear, breaks the code of nature to seek help from a human. This bear was a mother, and she was desperate. In the animal kingdom, showing weakness to a human is usually a death sentence. But this predator knew something we often forget. Survival requires intuition. She didn't come to attack. She came because her cub was dying of the very cold she was born to endure. This bear was at her biological limit, her fat reserves depleted, her muscles trembling under the weight of a Siberian winter that had gone from harsh to impossible. It raises the question, if a creature as powerful as a bear can be brought to its knees by its environment, what chance do we have? The answer lies in the interaction between this apex predator and an 80-year-old woman who refused to be a victim of her age. The cub was a pathetic sight, a small, shivering ball of matted fur that should have been safely tucked away in a den of warmth. Instead, it was exposed to the minus 71-degree air, its breathing shallow and its heart rate dropping into the danger zone. This is a state known as biological failure, and it mirrors what happens to many seniors in their 70s and 80s. We don't break. All at once, we shiver. Our metabolism slows down, our internal furnace flickers, and we begin to lose the ability to generate the heat required to keep our systems running. The cub was a literal representation of a failing metabolism. Agafya looked at this cub and didn't see a beast. She saw a life force that had lost its way. She knew that if she didn't intervene within minutes, the cub's internal fire would go out forever. In the heart of the storm, the smallest candle can keep the frost at bay. Scientists looking at human aging have found that our candles are our mitochondria, the power plants of our cells. For a senior over 60, these power plants often go offline due to lack of use and poor nutrition. When Agafya looked at that bear, she wasn't just thinking about warmth. She was thinking about the transfer of energy. In our own bodies, we experience a similar crisis. We feel cold in our bones not because of the weather, but because our cellular energy production has plummeted. This creates a vicious cycle. We feel tired, so we move less. We move less, so our mitochondria die off. Our mitochondria die off, so we feel even more tired. Breaking this cycle is the only way to reclaim your 60s and 70s. Inside the cabin, the clash of environments was stark. Outside, the blue death of the Siberian night. Inside, the orange, crackling life of a wood-burning stove. This cabin represents the controlled environment we all strive for. But there is a danger in too much comfort. If Agafya had lived in a centrally heated apartment with no need to chop wood, her body would have softened long ago. The fire she stoked was a physical manifestation of her internal willpower. As she dragged the cub near the hearth, the mother bear stood at the threshold, an uneasy truce forming between the wild and the civilized. This moment of tension is where the most profound healing happens, at the edge of our comfort zone. But as the cub began to thaw, a new problem emerged. The cub wasn't just cold, it was toxic. The extreme weather had caused its organs to begin the process of shutting down, releasing metabolic waste into its tiny bloodstream. Agafya did something that modern medicine is only now validating. She didn't just provide warmth. She provided a specific blend of nutrients she had gathered from the taiga. She offered a warm mash of goat's milk infused with chaga mushroom and pine resin. To a casual observer, this looks like folklore. To a longevity scientist, this is a masterclass in autophagy, the body's way of cleaning out damaged cells. Chaga is one of the most powerful antioxidants on the planet, capable of scavenging the free radicals that accumulate during periods of extreme physical stress. For a senior, this is the equivalent of a cellular spring cleaning. Most of us carry around decades of cellular trash that slows us down. Agafya, by living off the land, was constantly performing this cleanup. As the cub lapped at the warm mixture, its tiny system began to flush out the toxins of the frost. While the cub fought for its life, we must look at the skeletal structure of the woman saving it. Most people her age suffer from chronic inflammation, often called inflamm-aging. This is a state where the body is in a constant, low-level fight against itself, leading to joint pain, cognitive decline, and heart disease. But Agafya's spine, though curved by years of labor, remained resilient. Why? Because her diet and her environment lacked the pro-inflammatory triggers of the modern world. No processed sugars, no seed oils, and no chronic psychological stress. Her stress was acute, the stress of the cold, the stress of the hunt, the stress of the bear at the door. Acute stress strengthens the immune system, chronic stress destroys it. This is the bison versus cow mentality. A bison thrives in the storm because it faces it. A cow huddles and suffers. Which one are you? The gaze between the 80-year-old woman and the 600-pound predator was a bridge across the evolutionary gap. There was no fear, only a shared understanding of the burden of time. The mother bear was aging, too. Her teeth were worn, her gait slightly stiff. In the wild, there is no retirement home. You are either capable or you are gone. This is a brutal truth that we try to mask with medicine and technology, but the biological reality remains. The moment we stop being useful to our own survival, our biology begins to withdraw its support. Agafya saw herself in that bear. She recognized that her own survival was tied to her ability to remain a guardian of her small patch of earth. But just as the cub began to move its paws, a low growl echoed from the mother bear. The truce was about to be tested by a sound in the woods. Geography is the canvas, but habits are the paint. If we look at a map of Siberia, we see a place of isolation. Isolation is often cited as the biggest killer of seniors in the modern world. Loneliness has the same impact on mortality as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Yet, Agafya lived alone for decades. How did she avoid the decay of isolation? It's because she was never truly alone. She was deeply integrated into the ecosystem around her. She talked to the trees, she tracked the animals, and she monitored the weather like a scientist. Her mind was constantly engaged in a high-stakes game of chess with nature. For a senior watching this, the lesson is clear. Mental stimulation isn't just about crosswords. It's about having a mission. If you don't have a reason to get out of bed that is bigger than yourself, your brain will begin to prune its connections. Under a microscope, the recovery of the cub was a flurry of activity. The nutrients from the chaga and the warmth of the cabin triggered the mitochondria to start pumping again. This is what we call metabolic flexibility. It is the ability of the body to switch between burning fat and burning glucose efficiently. Most modern humans have lost this. We are sugar burners who crash every few hours. Agafya, and even the bear, were fat burners. They could go days without food because their bodies knew how to tap into deep reserves. This is the secret to sustained energy in your 70s. If you feel like you're constantly running on empty, it's likely because your metabolic engine is clogged with unburned fuel. The cub's recovery was a sign that its engine had restarted. The golden sparks of ADP were returning to its muscles. Agafya's movement through the snow to check her perimeter was a display of functional strength. She didn't go to a gym. She didn't lift chrome weights. She lifted logs. She carried water, and she navigated uneven, icy terrain. This is the proprioception training that prevents falls, the leading cause of injury for those over 65. When you walk on a flat sidewalk, your brain goes to sleep. When you walk on ice and uneven earth, every muscle in your core and ankles is firing to keep you upright. This microbalancing is what keeps the senior brain young. Every step Agafya took was a neurological workout. She didn't have old person gait, the shuffling walk of the fearful. She moved with the deliberate, heavy-footed confidence of someone who knows exactly where her center of gravity is. In contrast, think of a group of 40-year-old tourists who occasionally find their way to these remote regions. They are often bundled in the most expensive gear, yet they shiver and complain of exhaustion within hours. They have chronological youth, but biological frailty. Agafya, at 80, was outperforming them because her biological age was likely closer to 50. This is the great reveal of 2026. Your age is a choice, not a sentence. Scientists can now measure DNA methylation, the chemical tags on our genes that tell us how fast we are aging. Agafya's tags were pristine. By subjecting herself to the cold and the labor, she was essentially cleaning her DNA every single day. But while she was out in the snow, something was happening back at the cabin. The cub had stood up, but the mother bear was no longer at the door. She had vanished into the whiteout. The footprints in the snow told the story, a heavy set of paws leading away and a small set of paws waiting inside. This was the ultimate test of trust. The mother bear had left her most precious possession in the hands of a predator, a human, to go and find food for herself. In the wild, this is almost unheard of. But the bond of seniority, of two beings who had survived many winters, superseded the bond of species. This is a lesson in social cohesion. As we age, our survival depends on our ability to trust and be trusted. Seniors who withdraw from society or stop trusting others see a rapid decline in their cognitive health. By opening her door to the enemy, Agafya wasn't just saving a bear. She was reinforcing her own humanity and her place in the web of life. Medicine treats the symptoms. Nature treats the cause. If you were to take Agafya to a modern doctor, they would likely be baffled. Her blood pressure would be perfect, her bone density would resemble a woman in her 40s, and her vitality markers would be off the charts. Yet, she doesn't take a single prescription pill. Her pharmacy is the forest. She uses willow bark for pain, the original source of aspirin, pine needles for vitamin C, to prevent scurvy, and fermented berries for gut health. Most seniors are over-medicated and undernourished. They take pills to fix the side effects of other pills. Agafya's story challenges us to look at our medicine cabinet and ask, are we fixing our health, or are we just masking our decline? The bear cub, now eating steadily, was living proof that natural intervention is often the most powerful. Let's look at the ancient Siberian superfoods that were sitting on Agafya's table. Chaga mushroom, often called the diamond of the forest, grows on birch trees and survives the same -71-degree cold. It absorbs the tree's life force and concentrates it. When Agafya drinks this, she is consuming antifreeze for her own cells. Then there are pine nuts, dense and healthy fats and minerals that support brain function. For a senior, these aren't just snacks. They are neuroprotective agents. The modern diet is full of empty calories, foods that provide energy but no instructions for the cells. Agafya's food provided the instructions: stay strong, repair the damage, keep the fire burning. This is why she could face a bear in a blizzard while most people her age struggle to face a flight of stairs. The mother bear returned 3 hours later, a frozen carcass of a muskrat in her jaws. She didn't enter the cabin. She knew the rules of the house. She dropped the food at the door and waited. This shed protocol was a fascinating display of animal intelligence. Inside, the cub heard its mother and let out a sharp cry. The recovery was complete. The cub's eyes, which had been glazed and dull, were now sharp and black, reflecting the light of the fire. But now came the dangerous part. Agafya had to return the cub to its mother. A mother bear with a cub is the most dangerous creature in the world. Even with the trust they had built, instinct could take over in a heartbeat. Agafya stood up, her joints silent, her mind clear. She picked up the cub. This was the moment where one wrong move would end her 80-year journey. What gave Agafya the confidence to walk toward a 600-pound predator? It was her biological confidence. When you are physically strong, your brain produces less cortisol, the stress hormone. Frail people are naturally more anxious because they know they cannot defend themselves or escape. This anxiety of frailty is a silent killer of seniors. It keeps them trapped in their homes, afraid of the world. Agafya's strength was her shield. She knew her body could respond if needed. This is the greatest gift of staying fit in your 70s and 80s. It isn't about looking good in a swimsuit. It's about this psychological freedom that comes from knowing you are not a victim. She walked to the door, the cub in her arms, and looked the mother bear in the eye. The sun does not judge the old tree for its losing leaves. It warms the wood regardless. As Agafya stepped outside, the sun finally broke through the Siberian gloom. In -71 degrees, the sun provides light but no warmth, yet its psychological impact is massive. Sunlight triggers the production of vitamin D and serotonin, both of which are critical for senior bone health and mood regulation. Many seniors suffer from seasonal affective disorder because they stay indoors, away from the natural light. Agafya's skin, though wrinkled, was a solar panel that absorbed every bit of available light. This light was the final piece of the cub's recovery. As she set the cub down in the snow, the mother bear stepped forward. The tension was thick enough to shatter the ice. The mother bear didn't attack. She nudged her cub, sniffed it thoroughly, detecting the scent of chaga, goat's milk, and human warmth, and then did something remarkable. She looked at Agafya and let out a low, vibrating huff. It wasn't a threat. It was a thank you in the only language she had. Agafya watched them, her heart rate steady at 60 beats per minute. This heart rate variability is a key indicator of longevity. A healthy heart can switch from alert to rest instantly. An aging, unhealthy heart stays stuck in high gear, wearing itself out. Agafya's heart was as resilient as her spirit. She watched as the two bears turned and began the long trek back into the deep forest. She had done the impossible. But the story doesn't end with the bear walking away. The real story is what happened to Agafya the next day. Most people, after such a harrowing experience, would have collapsed from the adrenal crash. They would have stayed in bed for a week. But Agafya was back at the ice hole at 6 a.m. This is the concept of resilience capacity. Your ability to bounce back from stress is the truest measure of your biological age. If a minor flu or a stressful event sidelines you for a month, your capacity is low. Agafya's capacity was massive. She had been tempered by the cold like high-carbon steel. But what was the secret ingredient she used every morning that she hadn't shown the bear? It was something hidden in her cellar. The silhouette of the mother bear against the moon is a reminder of this circadian rhythm, the natural clock that governs all life. Agafya didn't have artificial blue lights or glowing screens to ruin her sleep. She slept when the sun went down and rose when it returned. This deep sleep is when the brain flushes out the plaques that lead to Alzheimer's. For a senior, sleep is not rest, it is renovation. If you are staying up late watching TV or scrolling through your phone, you are literally preventing your brain from cleaning itself. Agafya's mind remained sharp as a razor because she respected the rhythm of the planet. She was in sync with the bears, the trees, and the stars. The silhouette of the mother bear against the moon is a reminder of this circadian rhythm, the natural clock that governs all life. Agafya didn't have artificial blue lights or glowing screens to ruin her sleep. She slept when the sun went down and rose when it returned. This deep sleep is when the brain flushes out the plaques that lead to Alzheimer's. For a senior, sleep is not rest, it is renovation. If you are staying up late watching TV or scrolling through your phone, you are literally preventing your brain from cleaning itself. Agafya's mind remained sharp as a razor because she respected the rhythm of the planet. She was in sync with the bears, the trees, and the stars. Imagine a world where seniors didn't retire from life, but ascended to a state of elder resilience. This is the Wisecast vision. A world where 80-year-olds are the ones saving the bears, not the ones trapped in assisted living. This transition requires a shift in mindset. You have to stop seeing yourself as declining and start seeing yourself as toughening. Like the Siberian larch tree, which grows stronger the harder the wind blows. You can use the challenges of aging to build a version of yourself that is more durable than your younger self. The bear cub was saved by an elder, not a youth. There is power in age that the young cannot understand. DNA is the script, but you are the director. We used to think our genes were our destiny. We thought if our parents had heart disease, we would too. But epigenetics has proven that we can turn our good genes on and our bad genes off through our lifestyle. Agafya was directing her genes to be resilient. She was sending the signal. We are in a harsh environment. We need maximum energy, maximum repair, and maximum focus. Her DNA responded by keeping her young. You can send the same signal today. It starts with a cold shower, a long walk, or a meal of whole, wild foods. You are rewriting your script with every choice you make. Agafya sits by her fire now, a knowing smile on her face. She knows she is a biological anomaly to the rest of the world, but to her, she is just living. She doesn't feel old. She feels experienced. There is a massive difference. Old is a state of decay. Experienced is a state of mastery. She mastered the Siberian winter, she mastered the predator at her door, and she mastered her own biology. Her story is a gift to everyone over 60. It is proof that the trapdoor of aging is only there if you choose to stand on it. If you keep moving, the door stays shut. If we could turn the clock back, what would you change? Most people say they would have taken better care of themselves. But the beauty of the human body is that it is never too late to start the reversal. Research shows that even 90-year-olds can build muscle mass and improve heart health with the right stimulus. The clock isn't moving in one direction, it's a pendulum. You can swing it back toward vitality. Agafya didn't start her longevity program in a gym at 20. She just never stopped living a demanding life. You can reintroduce that demand today. What is your Siberian chore going to be? As the seasons shift and the green returns to the taiga, we see the cycle of rebirth. The cub that was nearly a frozen corpse is now a yearling, strong and bold. The woman who saved it is a year older, yet somehow more vibrant. This is the symbiosis of strength. When we help others, whether they be animals or humans, we trigger a release of oxytocin and helper's high that actually boosts our own immune system. Agafya's act of kindness was a biological shot in the arm. Longevity is not a solo sport. It is a community effort. By saving the bear, she saved a piece of herself. Look at your kitchen. Is it a Siberian pantry or a modern trap? Does it contain foods that fight inflammation or foods that fuel it? Your next meal is the most important decision you will make today. Will it be the warm mash that restarts the cub's heart, or will it be the cold sugar that dims your internal fire? Choosing longevity is a series of small, mundane decisions that add up to a miraculous life. You don't need to move to Siberia to live like Agafya. You just need to bring her spirit into your home. The winter is long, but the spirit is longer. We end our journey where we began, at the door of a small cabin in the snow. Agafya stands there, a guardian of the old ways and a herald of the new science of aging. She reminds us that we are capable of far more than we are told. You are not a senior citizen waiting for the end. You are an elder warrior preparing for the next season. The bear is gone, the cub is safe, and the frost is holding steady at -71 degrees. But inside Agafya's chest, a fire is burning that no winter can ever put out. May you find that same fire within yourself. This is the Wisecast. Stay strong, stay wild, and never let the fire go out.